And with us right now, I've got my good friend, Allison Melody. Allison, we know each other from the podcasting world. You are the owner of Melody Productions, a film and production company, and you're the host of the Food Heals podcast with an enormous audience. Allison, people love what you have to share. And my audience, I'm so thrilled to have you on to kind of dispense some wisdom based on your experience in growing business and kind of, when the pieces feel like they're all over the floor, exactly like how to recover from that. So Allison, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Josh. It's always great to be with you. I love running into you at conferences and geeking out on all the things that we share in common. So I'm really glad to be on your show.
So our friends who are just now listening to our conversation, what they don't know is that we've already been chatting for some length. Geeking out on video, geeking out on audio, geeking out on all things. And so, Allison, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just give us just a quick overview of who you are today in the world, like the problems that you solve, how, we'll get into kind of more of the how, but maybe just like a quick 101 on your work today.
For sure. Well, I'm definitely an entrepreneur at heart because I do a lot of things, as we all do. But one of the things that I do is I help wellness entrepreneurs build wellness empires. And I do that through multiple ways where I have private clients and coaching, and I have a group mastermind program. And then Food Heals is my passion. That is a book, and that is a podcast, and that is all about healing the body naturally and finding natural cures and using nutrition to heal yourself and up-level your life. And then I have a video production company that I've had since about 2007, 2008. And
Wow.
that has served me quite well throughout the year. So I do a lot, but I love it.
No kidding. Well, the world and social media, I mean, everything is video today. And so we'll kind of get into maybe some best practices on, I don't think we're going to have enough time to really get how many things I want to talk about. The first thing I wanted to ask you about, because I want to be very topical to what's going on right now in the world, and with a lot of great business owners. The first thing I actually, if you wouldn't mind, maybe sharing a little bit of advice on people that are, our patterns are disrupted. Maybe we're not eating out at restaurants as often, which is a good thing, but from everything that I've seen, I just heard a news story about, comfort food is explosion. People are eating more kind of unhealthy carbs right now than they probably, than way more than they normally do. So Allison, can you give us maybe like 2-3 things that we could try to incorporate that we can make sure that we're using food to heal our body and we're giving our bodies what we truly need. And by the way, when I say we, I mean me.
I kind of thought that, Josh.
Oh, man. I sadly have eaten way too many tortilla chips. I'm like, oh, I could put that on a tortilla chip, that too. Crackers. These are things I've done so good over the past year and a half, especially in kind of eliminating from my diet. And I'm like, ugh, I'm off the rails right now.
Absolutely. Well, number one, I would say, don't judge yourself. We're all doing it. Comfort food, we are going through a trauma right now. It is a collective trauma. And sometimes we turn to food for comfort, and that's psychology and that's natural. And yeah, there are tools to get us out of that. But first, when you're doing that, don't judge yourself and know that this is a comfort that you need at the moment. It doesn't mean it has to last. It doesn't mean it has to become a pattern. It doesn't mean that you have to gain weight, but don't judge yourself while you're doing it. Enjoy it. Have that moment so that you can empower yourself to go back to the healthy eating or start a nutrition plan when you're ready to. When we're in the middle of trauma, we may not be ready to start something new. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm going to exercise now. I'm going to start this new training plan. I'm going to start this nutrition plan. Great. If you can do it, I absolutely support you. If you can't, I absolutely support you too. So number one is don't judge yourself. But if you really want to start changing, there is amazing opportunity right now to do it. You can start that healthier diet. You can start that exercise plan, whatever it is that you want to do. But if you want me to get really specific, I will. So I think that if you are going to eat comfort food and you're going to eat garbage, there are a few things you can do to kind of counteract it, let's say. And that is you can double down on some of your vitamins and supplements like colloidal silver, like vitamin C, and like vitamin D, because all of those are virus killers. Of course, there have been no studies to show that this kills coronavirus or anything like that. That just, there's no time for that. But because we know from the studies and the science that these are virus killers, why not double down on the things that can possibly help you stay healthy during this time? So I'm all about all the supplements you can get, whether you get them through food or through pill form. I don't care. Just double down on those right away. And then what are you putting on your plate? You know, let's try to put an array of colors of fruits and vegetables to boost our immunity during this time, because yeah, we're going through things. I'm eating comfort food too, Josh, but I'm plant-based. So I might be eating the vegan Ben & Jerry's instead of the dairy-laden Ben & Jerry's because I happen to have a severe allergy to dairy. So I'm not going to compromise on that, but I still need comfort food once in a while. And that's okay. I'm not going to judge myself for it. But double down on your vitamins and eat as many rainbow colors of fruits and vegetables as you can to boost your immune system at this time, so that if you are in contact with someone with COVID-19, you might not get it.
Yeah. You know, one thing, and again, I could spend an hour talking about just this alone. And I think I've shared with you before, like I used to be a really heavy guy. Like I lost 60 pounds to get, come up maybe about 15 from that bottom of that. But so I care very deeply about this subject. My secret weapon for that was not an elimination diet, but let's crowd out the possibility of the unhealthy food by just, gorging yourself on healthy vegetables, plant-based foods. And then, add to it, whatever protein you want to go for, make sure that that's a big staple and part of that. And then, you know what, wait 30 minutes, even though, for me, I had to say, look, you can have the dessert. It's totally cool. So it's not a restrictive thing for me, but why don't we kind of do these in two separate settings? And so, but what I found is that because I crowded out the unhealthy stuff with the healthy stuff. And that is like, great, I can eat that, but I'm going to eat this stuff first. And then let's see how I feel in 30 minutes. Maybe I'll take my doggy for a walk and, whatever, we'll just see how it goes. And I found that when I broke up the pattern of eating, okay, so I'm like either eating or I'm not eating. And so if I eat a bunch of unhealthy stuff in one fell swoop, I was in the eating mode, as opposed to when I get into doing something else, well, I'm not in the eating mode anymore. I'm not in the kitchen right now. So I always tried to separate those two. And I usually found that I was satiated enough. I'm like, it's too much work to go back down to the kitchen. Or another thing is I just didn't buy the stuff. And so I know that if I were to buy cookies and cream ice cream, I don't buy it. But if I did buy cookies and cream ice cream and I knew it was in the freezer, I guarantee eventually I'm going to eat that entire container of cookies and cream ice cream. But if I don't buy it at the grocery store, when it's easy to say yes or no, then, that was another thing. It's just, and again, Allison, I know we could talk so long about this. And can we, I feel like I'm so trolling you right now with topics. You're like, ooh, I should talk about that. But I really want to share, have you share a little bit about our friends, our business owner friends who are really struggling right now. Like they can't make payroll, so they're having to furlough their employees. They are losing sales. Appointments are drying up for them. And I feel so badly just based on, what industry they are and how big they're impacted. It might feel like the world is crumbling around them. Allison, help them out.
Well, I will say that it is a scary time. And like I said earlier, we are going through a trauma. And so there's going to be a lot of feelings that you're going to go through. And my best piece of advice is to deal with those feelings head on and not suppress them. Here's why. This is why we're eating constantly. This is why you're constantly going to the fridge, because when you are overeating, you are trying to avoid a feeling that you don't want to feel. Or if you're starving yourself, whatever the food issue is, it's most likely because you are trying to avoid feeling the feeling you don't want to feel. It may be fear, it may be anger, it may be scarcity mindset, right? So let's face the fears head on, because if we move through them, then we can come with a clear head to solve them. And the only reason I can say that with confidence is the fact that, I was 25 years old and I lost both of my parents to long battles with cancer. And that's why I became the food heals nutrition girl that you see in front of you today, is because I watched Western medicine completely fail them. And I thought there had to be a better way. There had to be some tips, some ways that the body could heal itself. And that's when I discovered nutrition and alternative medicine. But unfortunately, it was too late for my parents. So my mom passed away in 2004, and my father passed away in 2007. And this was right on the precipice of the 2008 crash. So here I am, 25 years old, lost both my parents, only child. So I was essentially orphaned. But I was like, well, at least I'll have some money, because my dad had a thriving business. He was an attorney in a small town, so we got all of the business, and they also flipped homes. So we had multiple properties all across North Carolina in multiple beach towns, multiple beach homes. One day I got a call from Bank of America in early 2008, and they said, you're losing thousands of dollars a day. Your homes are in foreclosure. And I literally said, I don't know what that means. I didn't know what foreclosure was. I didn't know they could take my homes. And I didn't know that the estate had been completely mismanaged by the person who was put in charge of it, who I thought had my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So it's a long story that I don't need to get into. But essentially, I woke up one day, I had nothing. I had lost all their money, all their homes, everything. I had no parents. I had no money. And I was like, well, I got to build something right now. Otherwise, it's drugs and homelessness for me, because I didn't know what path to go on. So back then, it was the 2008 financial crash. No one was lending money, and I didn't have any, and I didn't have any credibility. I didn't have any clout. But luckily, I had tenacity, I would say. And so back then, it was kind of before we had Facebook and all of the online things where we could just email people and message people and say, hi, I'm here. Like, let's work together and create relationships that way. So I did networking the old fashioned way. And I went on meetup.com and I found meetups in my area. And I started going and meeting people person to person. And this was a time when I realized I needed to see, what do people need and what need can I fill? So I had been to film school and I was very good at editing. I had learned Final Cut Pro, and I was excellent at creating short form video content. So I started meeting people and talking to people and convincing them why their company needed to put their videos online. This is, YouTube was new. This wasn't the way it is today. There was no TikTok or anything like that. People weren't creating content for Instagram yet. So I was convincing people about why their businesses needed short form video content online. I booked my first client when I was negative in the bank, and I skyrocketed from there. Wow. So that's why I can confidently say that it's 2020. And look, I'm scared too, Josh. Some of my income streams have certainly, disappeared temporarily. And luckily I have a lot, so that I've, hopefully created a recession-proof business. But even if I lost everything right now, I know I can rebuild because I did it then. So my advice is, look what skills you have, look what passions you have, and how you can help people right now. And that could become, the business of 2021 that you don't even know is waiting for you yet.
Completely. So right now, Allison, we are in a situation where I think a lot of people, there are all of a sudden a lot of new needs that didn't exist a couple of months ago. And who's going to be first to market? Who's going to solve those problems? Who's going to stand up and be the leader and say, I know the pain that you're experiencing right now, and I can help you solve that problem. If you can do that, I mean, you have right now, it's like everybody is all in a boat and we're in this new blue ocean, and you can decide whether or not you want to take, the captain's wheel or whatever, or you just want to shrink back and say, this is scary and we're all scared. All right. And I think, one of the things that I see achievers do is they do it scared and they do it tired. And so you do it and you say, and I can't tell you, Allison, I'm sure you've done this. Like, well, let me just ask you, were there times when you said, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I guess I'll figure it out as I go. Like
That's my
I
life
believe in
story.
myself enough to know that I could probably figure it out. I can't tell you, like at the beginning of Savings Angel, like when we were having like some meetings with some local media type people about what we were building, and I was selling air. For months I was selling air. I was like, I know conceptually there's got to be a way to do this. I don't know how, right? But I can figure that part out. What was your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know what I was doing. Every single thing I've started, I've gone, let's see if it works. Let's see if it flies. But when you put passion behind it, I think you can't fail. So it's like, if you are trying to do something that you don't fully know how to do, that's no problem. But if you're doing something you don't fully feel passionate about, that is the problem. So make sure it is something that you feel passionately about. And what do people need right now? That is something that you care about, is something, a problem that you can solve, just like you said. So for me, I was like, okay, for Food Heals podcast, we have sponsors. So right now, I want to do as much good content as I can about COVID-19 and keeping people healthy. So I reached out to my sponsors and I said, I'm going to offer you 50% off during this crazy times, because that's a win-win for both of us. And what happened was amazing. Some sponsors were like, we're on board, let's do this.
Yeah.
Others were like, we can't right now. We don't have the money. One of them is a skincare company, and their income has dried up because they are used to serving spas and hotels. And so right now, those contracts are dead. So what I said, Josh, is I said, okay, I'm going to give you free advertising on my show. So what does this do? This helps them. I hope some people buy, and then they get some money in their pocket. And guess what, Josh? They're going to remember me when the economy is back. Yes, and they're going to want to work with me.
Absolutely. So I think it is the short-sighted business person or salesperson who says, when they get someone who says, oh, we can't buy until June, everything's shut down. And then the salesperson is like, okay, I guess we'll talk then. It's like, right. How does that, if someone said that to you, how would you feel? I would feel used. I would feel like, okay, so I guess our relationship is only about you getting the sale. And so I love, Allison, that you came up with an idea that is, let's think creative. What do we not have right now? Budget. That's okay. Like, we can work around that, right? Because I believe in what you do. And you know what? Look, I think the vast majority of businesses are going to rebound just fine. I think a lot of them are going to need to adjust to people's new sensitivities. I think that if you are involved in like in-person, and just look at how we're living right now. I think our new way of living is that I think most businesses should now have that in their threat box if they're doing a SWOT analysis. Like, hey, we have this event going on in the fall, but who knows? There could be a second wave and all of a sudden we got to cancel the event. So if you're a speaker, how can you position yourself in a way where, Allison, like, I hope someone, by the way, this is a great conversation for a podcast, but I hope someone gets to watch our conversation on our YouTube channel. You just go to outmyinfluence.com, lower left-hand corner, click on our YouTube icon, and then you can watch this conversation with Allison. Check out Allison's studio. It's beautiful. I'm envious. I really, really love this. See, that's what you want to show up to the game and say, I'm ready to go. So if we got to all of a sudden shift to virtual, check out this experience that I can give your employees or your attendees.
Absolutely. Well
said. I know you do a lot of speaking.
Yeah. And your studio is beautiful as well.
I'm into it. That's one of the things we were geeking out on. It's like, oh, okay, what are you doing? Oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah. So like totally into it. Any other advice on, dealing with, and this is kind of like our last question. The time goes so quick.
I know.
In terms of, what you would be focused on if you were advising a business owner moving forward?
I would say, what are you good at? What are you passionate at? What needs do people have? What do people always ask you about? Friends, family, clients, business people, I don't care, over cocktails. What do people always ask you about? That is something that you can turn into a business. So my whole thing is offer as much for free and as much value as you can until it becomes something that you can monetize. And some people do it faster than others. Some people do it slower. I say trust your intuition and you'll know when it's right for you. But those are the things that you're an expert at. So perhaps you could create an online course, perhaps you could create a book, a podcast. There are so many avenues right now for us all to be influential online. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel if you're great at video like Josh. Whatever it is that you have expertise in, you are a person of influence. You are a person of value. You have skills and knowledge and passion to bring to the table. I don't care who else is doing it. I don't care who's done it before. There is space for you. Right? There are people who need your expertise. Your experiences make you unique. So definitely don't give up and know that if you're passionate about something, it is something that could become absolutely your business and your lifestyle, your life.
Yeah. Allison Melody, you are not only the podcast host of the Food Heals podcast. Not only do you have a video production company, but you're also a filmmaker as well. What's the best way to get into the world of Allison Melody?
Well, my latest film I'll be releasing soon. I was planning to release it sooner rather than later, but with COVID, it's kind of taken a back burner because I'm not sure if it's the right time. But the best way to get in touch with me is foodhealsnation.com. I've also got my book, Food Heals, which is on Amazon.
And a best-selling author. Gosh, I forgot that.
Thanks to Laura Peterson, by the way, who helped me do that. But yes. So yeah, foodhealsnation.com.
Foodhealsnation.com. Allison Melody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Josh.